Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Daisy. For today's video, I will be reading my subscribers' spooky stories. So grab your snacks, grab your cobija, and let's get straight into it. I was listening to one of your videos when I remembered a story that happened to me when I was about 8 years old. I'm 17 now. I myself live in the Netherlands, but this story takes place in Austria. My grandparents used to own the penthouse of an apartment complex in a town called Emau. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I butcher it. My whole family would go there in the wintertime to go skiing and just spend time with each other. I remember always having the best time there. But at night, when it was time to go to bed, I always felt a certain pressure or scared feeling that I never really had at home. What helped me feel better was the fact that because the apartment was just one floor, I was closer to my parents, who would sleep together in another room a couple of doors down. In this instance, I was sleeping in the bedroom that was closest to the living room. I remember vividly laying with my back turned towards the door. I was awoken in the middle of the night by the creaking of my door. My heart obviously went crazy, but then I heard my grandmother's voice call out my name. Lana? I immediately turned to the door and felt the terror leave my body and felt relieved. I saw the outline of my grandmother's head peek through the door. Breakfast is ready, come. And I watched as her head slowly faded back into the darkness of the hallway. I was confused because it was still dark out, and there was also no sounds of people walking around. It was dead silent. Being so young and used to just listening to what was said to me, I got up out of bed, walked through the dark hallway, and opened the living room door to find no one. But I thought maybe my family would come in a few minutes, so I went to sit on the couch. The couch was placed in the corner of the room, so I had a view of the whole living room and kitchen. The room was very spacious, so the kitchen was just a pitch black hole. I sat there, waiting in the dark for what felt like an hour. After I realized that no one was going to come, I got really scared again. I started to hear things rumble in the kitchen and gathered the courage to reach and turn on a small lamp that was positioned on the table next to the couch. When it lit up, I saw no one and the sounds stopped. The comfort the light gave me proceeded to me turning on all the lights in the living room and hallway. I made my way to the room where my parents were sleeping, which is where I ended up sleeping for the remainder of that specific vacation. Greetings, Lana. Hey Daisy, I found your channel by coincidence. I used to live in Mexico, Durango, Mexico. I was around 6-7 years old, and I lived in a tiny old town. An indigenous town where we had lots of stories and supernatural occurrences that happened to mostly everyone in that town. My mom used to have a rule for us, no salgan en la noche. It was a rule in our town to not leave our house past 8 p.m. At night, I would wake up and I could hear someone outside every night, running and laughing. But one night, while me and my siblings were getting ready for sleep, my mom was taking a shower in the room next to us. My siblings and I were already tucked in, and we could hear the person outside already running around and laughing. We always thought it was a sick man that lived by the river. He had PTSD from his days in the military, and we always chalked it up to him having flashbacks, running around the town to run from his hallucinations. Well, a couple of hours passed. My mom, my dad, my grandparents were already in bed, and we were already asleep. Our house was a typical house in Mexico with a tin roof. My older brother woke up due to thudding on the roof, waking up my older sister too. They said that they remember to see the tin shift above them. That's when they heard it. The laughing and scratching. They shook me awake. ¿Escuchas eso? Do you hear that? I focused a bit and heard it. Scratching and laughing. We got up and went over to my parents' room. They were already awake, with my grandparents right next to them. Before I could ask something, my grandpa shushed me. No hables. No sabe que estamos despiertos. My grandpa was a pastor. He knew about the supernatural. He did everything for the town. Blessings, exorcisms, everything. We could hear the scratching getting louder, slowly turning to banging. My grandpa started to say prayers, but that seemed to make whatever it was angrier. Whatever it was started to stomp on our roof, and we could see the dents above us. It was like a scene out of a horror movie. My grandfather saying his prayers and the evil getting angrier and angrier. His words seemed to have no effect. And like I said, we lived in an indigenous town. Almost everyone there was of an indigenous origin. My grandpa was from more of a developed state in Mexico. My grandma was from the town and was very connected with her background. She scolded him. Deja de rezar, solo lo estás haciendo enojar. Stop praying, you're only making it angrier. It felt like hours of this thing, just laughing, banging, screaming, and scratching. But it finally left. The next day, my grandpa checked on the roof with my uncles, and he saw the marks and dents that it had left, but also what looked like a ball of hair. To this day, we still don't know what it was, but my mom believed that what tried to attack us was a witch. I guess we'll never know for sure. Hi Daisy, I wanted to share a scary story with you that still haunts me and my mom to this day. My family has always been followed by the paranormal for some reason. I'm not sure if it was something that one of our ancestors did or if it was just bad luck. It all started when my oldest brother went missing. In my mom's desperation, she went to a man who called himself a psychic and a healer. When she reached out to him for help, he assured her that he'd be able to help her with what she was asking, as long as he got paid for it. She hoped that with his help, she would be able to locate my brother, so she had no problem paying over 50 pesos, sometimes even more, which was a lot considering we've never been a rich family. One day, he invited her over to his place. My mom always told me that when she walked into the room he had led her to, the vibe was completely different from the rest of the house. She said it felt cold and chilling, as if there was a thick pressure in the room. Well, as he got his stuff ready, my mom's eyes fell onto a statue of a black Santa Muerte, which, if you don't know, is commonly used for black magic. This was a huge red flag that my mom chose to ignore, since she felt desperate to find some sort of sign that would point her to my brother. During the time my mom was there, the man gave her a monito rojo, a red doll, made of cloth. He told her to keep it safe until their next meeting. The monito rojo gave her an uneasy, chilling feeling, but she was desperately looking for anything that could help, so she did as she was told. Well, when we went home, she put the monito on top of a dresser where she knew it would be safe and out of reach from any kids. A few days later, the man had stopped messaging back. It was as if he had vanished from one day to another. Well, after that day, my mom went to the police station along with one of her friends who was there to comfort her. My mom talked to her over a cup of coffee as she started to tell her that after she had gone to that man, everything had been off. It was as if a fog of bad energy had been cast over the house. The dogs, who were always calm, started to become rowdy and bothered, especially at night. They would spend the whole night barking, and you know what they say about dogs, that they can see what the naked eye can't. This was obviously unusual since our dogs had never been this rowdy, especially during the night. Or at least, not since she had gone there. Once my mom had told the lady about what was going on in the house became cold as ice. It was weird since it was the middle of the summer in Mexico. My mom's friend ended up staying for the night and slept in the now spare room. The room where my mom had forgotten about the monito on top of the dresser. That night was weirdly calm. The dogs were quiet, and we were able to sleep peacefully. That was until my mom's friend told her what happened in the night. In her words, she said that she had a lucid dream. She said it was as if she couldn't move other than her head, but it wasn't any normal dream. She described it as if she was the third person. She could only see her body and the figure of a monito choking her. She could see it happening. She could feel the desperation, but she couldn't move. After that day, my mom threw the monito away. Little did we know, this would only be the start of it all. Hello, Daisy. My story is about a strange mishap with my Alexa, which is basically Amazon's voice AI, kind of like a virtual assistant. A little brief background: my father has bought multiple Alexas and placed them throughout the house, including my room and the living room. The weird error, however, happened in the middle of the night. Everyone in the house was asleep, including me. But that quickly changed when I awoke from the sound of mumbling coming from outside my room, which is the living room. I was a little scared, but I figured it would just be my mom, since sometimes she gets restless and watches TV if she can't sleep. But to my surprise, it was the Alexa playing a random song. Now, this has happened in the past, but only while I was awake, because I can be a little loud. Normally, the one in my room would turn on since they only do it when you say the command Alexa. I shut it down by telling it to stop, but it creeped me out. I have no record of sleepwalking or anything, but I was too tired to care. The part that got to me was that I didn't know what set it off. The following morning, I asked my dad to check the app that controls all the Alexas in our home. He had programmed it to recognize our voices, but even the Alexa didn't know who it was. He can also play back a voice recording of who asked what and at what time. I told him about what happened the previous night. He thought it was just an error, but I insisted because I needed the reassurance. The recording was unclear, but you could tell it was a woman's voice, just mumbling something. I couldn't make out a single word, but the Alexa obviously was able to. The voice sent a cold chill down my spine. My mother joined in on listening and was just as creeped out as me. We all agreed that it sounded nothing like either of us. Maybe I did sleepwalk? I don't know, but it still makes me wonder if it was an entity trying to communicate something. The story is just another to add to the weird events that have happened in my house. Hi Daisy, my name is Manny. In my northern Mexican side of the family, stories of lechuzas and duendes have always circulated when we would all get together. My experience has to do with what I think was a lechuza, a witch. On this particular Texas summer night, about a year ago, around 9-10 p.m., I went walking down my neighborhood a few blocks to play Pokemon Go. For context, there's a small oncology facility about 2 blocks. This facility has a huge marquee sign at the corner of the parking lot, about 3 stories high. It's not lit up, it's just cement with painted letters for the clinic. Next to the facility, there's an overgrowth of marsh plants and a little tiny swamp, followed by a church leading back to my house. Since I was walking on this night, I passed some houses, the church, the mini swamp, and didn't even have to go onto the parking lot of the oncology place. I could reach the Pokemon stops from the public area on the sidewalk, but still, I noticed this facility had hired a security guard who sat in his truck and made sure nobody unauthorized drove into the parking lot. Well, anyway, I passed the facility catching Pokemons, headed towards a main street in my neighborhood. I got to the main street, finished playing, and made my way back home. As I got closer to the oncology clinic nearing my house, I passed the security guard, who was on his phone, still in his truck. He took a glance at me through his window and went back to his phone. The parking lot was dimly lit by some light posts closer to the door of the facility. From the giant marquee sign of the clinic, I could hear a clicking noise coming from the highest point. I thought it might be something electrical because I figured it was lighted at one point in the past. So I kept walking. Mind you, the only 2 people within my line of vision were me and the security guard, safely tucked in his truck. As I was right next to the sign, my curiosity got the best of me and I decided to look up. Since it was darkish and at my angle, I saw absolutely nothing. But from that nothingness, I heard a sound I will fear for the rest of my life. It's as if whatever was making those clicking noises saw me look up. And at that very moment, it let out a scream or screech or hell cry that shook me to my core for years to come. The sound was a weird combination of a grown woman and a gargoyle or something. As soon as the security guard heard the noise, he opened his truck door, stepped 1 foot out, and lifted his head, only to immediately retreat back into the truck. And from my distance, I could hear the locking mechanisms from the truck doors. He apparently saw something I didn't, because his face had an expression I've only ever seen in movies. Immediately, I pulled out my taser and gave it a few clicks in the direction of the noise, but I still saw nothing. Whatever it was, I'm sure I scared it with the zaps, but the security guard still didn't come out of his truck. Whatever it was might have retreated into the thicket of the mini swamp or just flat out flown away. I made it home a few minutes later and texted my aunt, who is probably my biggest confidant in reference to my paranormal experiences. Back in those days, I was cleansing myself from a dark time in my life when I had dabbled in the occult. My mom got word of what happened on my walk from my aunt, whom I had given permission to discuss with others. My mom's response was that evil wanted me back into its grips. She said it was how the dark side responded to me leaving them. We are Catholic, and while my mom doesn't necessarily believe in some of these Mexican legends, I certainly do. To this day, I still believe it was a bruja. So that was it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to everyone that wrote in their stories. I can't say it enough. Thank you guys so much. If you guys have a spooky story that you would like to share with all of us, send it to daicyspooks@gmail.com, and hopefully I can read your story soon here on my channel. But now for the paranormal update. Maybe you're waiting for, or maybe you're not waiting for. So it happened recently, last week. Okay guys, I love when we talk about paranormal things, but when it happens to you, they could feel a little bit different. You know, it's scary. So it was last week. I was sleeping and I was awoken to a laugh, a male laugh. Okay, note that. Okay, note it in your noggin. Okay, a male laugh. And I was startled when I heard the laugh. I was sleeping and I was like, and I got like scared, startled. I'm still startled and I can still hear it, but it's a laugh like ha ha ha, a young male laugh. It wasn't like evil, didn't sound evil, it just sounded like a joke. It sounded like a joke. I was like, what the heck? I checked the time on my phone and it was 2:22 in the morning. And I was like, okay, clearly this cannot be my brother. My cousin at the time was staying with us. I'm like, no, it couldn't be them. It's 2:22. Like, it was loud. It didn't sound like it was coming from my room. It sounded like it was coming from the hallway, like behind my door, which is the hallway, which where my door is at and to where my bed is at, where I'm sleeping, it's pretty close by. So it sounded loud. I'm startled and I'm confused. Like, I'm still thinking like, what? Like, am I dreaming? Like, no, like I couldn't hear this laugh. And I think it's my cousin. Let me just call him Miguel. And I go, Miguel? Nothing. Silence. Zero. Nothing. No response. And I'm like, okay, what the heck? Because at the time, he had been asking me, like, he would knock on my door, like, early in the morning, like, around 6, 7, 8, or around there. And he would be asking for my charger. So I was thinking maybe he's, like, trying to get my attention. Maybe I didn't answer him. Like, maybe I couldn't wake up, and so he's, like, laughing. I don't know. But I didn't hear anything. I ended up putting a rosario on just in case it was something, you know, actually there. I was like, oh, hell no. Gonna put my rosario on real quick. And I just fell back to sleep. But more than anything, I just thought, like, maybe I was dreaming. It just didn't make sense because when I was awake, I was hearing that laugh. It's not like in my dream I was hearing that laugh and then I woke up. No, it was when I was startled because of the sound. And I heard ha, 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 like a very fake laugh. Anyways, in the morning, I tell my cousin. When I was telling him what I heard, it came to my mind. OG know. The OGs really know. You guys know this story. So in that room, I don't sleep here in this room. This is the room where I had my bed, where I would sleep. It was my room, but this is now my filming room. My bed is now in my sister's room. She's no longer here. I sleep in her room. And if you guys remember, let me know. Oh my God. Okay, let's see what emoji you guys can put. What movie? Okay, popcorn. Let's do popcorn. Put the emoji popcorn if you guys remember this story where my sister was with my cousin. They were watching a movie in her room, the room that now I sleep in, that they were watching prom night. The TV is on the floor. The TV's on the floor. They're on the floor. They're watching it. They're like, ha ha ha, whatever. And there's a scene where like it's getting more creepy. It's getting more like eerie. And they're laughing. My sister and my cousin are laughing, trying to like make light of the situation. Tell me why. They hear a laugh coming from behind the TV. They were freaked out. They were like, oh, hell no. They checked to see if the TV, in the movie there was someone laughing, a male laugh. That movie did not have a male laugh in that scene. They were rewinding. No, check. No male laugh. They were laughing and they heard a male laugh laughing with them. Oh gosh. Thank God I did not remember about that laugh when it was happening, when I woke up. Because I would have not slept there. No. I honestly thought I wasn't gonna hear that laugh. And I don't know why I did. And for many years, my sister only heard it once in that room. This is my first time, I guess, in that room too. But wow, like I remembered when I was telling my cousin that what I heard. I was like, wait, hold up. And then I explained to him what happened with my sister. And yeah, so that was the 411, guys. That was my paranormal update. Hopefully I don't experience something else, because as much as I like to talk about paranormal things, it feels a little bit different when it actually happens to you. And this was nothing, you know. Hearing your guys' stories, I'm like, what the heck? I don't know. Your guys' stories are good, so keep them coming. And hopefully these paranormal updates, if there is a paranormal update later on, I'll be sure to let you guys know about it, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys all in my next one. Bye.